Hey everyone! Hello, Internet! Hello, Fandom Forward! Hello, Heartstopper fans, most importantly of all. People in the comments are already chatting about who are their favorite characters. Nick, Sarah, Nellie. I love it. These characters help change the world for us, and tonight we're going to be working on changing the world for the better in their honor. So I'm very excited to have you all here with us this evening. I'm going to do a super quick intro and then we're going to dive right into learning about what we're doing tonight and bringing on some of our special guests. So, I'm Katie. If you are not familiar with Fandom Forward and you're coming for the first time from Heartstopper fandom, welcome. Fandom Forward, we're a nonprofit that we use beloved stories to help fans connect with real world social justice issues. And we are coming together tonight as part of our One Vote Protects campaign. There are just so many different issues that are on the line this November, online every single time we vote. And we know that our one vote has the power to protect so many people, so many rights, so many issues we care about. So we have done events these past couple weeks around reproductive rights with Star Wars fans. We've done climate justice with Lord of the Rings and Percy Jackson fans. And tonight we are focusing on supporting an amendment that's on the ballot in Nevada that would help protect the rights of queer people in the state, also women, people of color. It's a real banger of a law. We will talk about it. We're doing like general get out the vote, but it's going to reach people who really care about this. So, uh, right. So tonight we're working with a couple different organizations, and I'm going to have a rep on from one of those in just a minute to talk to us about what we're doing. If you are watching this after the fact, you're not going to be able to make the calls, but that's okay. You can still spread the word about getting out to vote and still enjoy the fun Heartstopper content. So, real quick, short housekeeping things. Number one, feel free to use the chat to say hello to us at any point during the stream or to ask any questions. Encourage each other to make calls, whatever it is you want to talk about in the chat. Do know that there is like a 20 to 30-second delay between when you write something and when we're going to be able to see it. So, if there's a delay and you're waiting around, that's why. It's the technology. We do have live captions enabled. So if you click on the closed caption button, which I think is about here, it should turn on live captions and it should work. If it's not working, let us know. We might not be able to fix it right now, but we want to be able to fix it for future live streams. Uh, that's that. And I just also want to plug also, we have special shirts that support Fandom Forward and the campaign. If you go to fandomforward.org/shop, boom, there it is. You can find all of our shirts and pins and patches there. But you can get a shirt specifically for One Vote Protects. That if you order like right now, tonight, it should arrive before Election Day. So get on it if you're looking for your your election day outfit. All right, I think that's it. I think I hit everything. So I am going to bring on our first guest, who is from the Center for Common Ground and is gonna. Hey, Gabriel. Hi.
Hey, how's it
How are
going?
you?
I'm
Thank
doing
you.
pretty well.
Thank you for being here tonight. You are like with Center for Common Ground and working on this stuff in Nevada, right?
That's right. Yeah, so I'm part of Center for Common Ground, and along with this campaign, we're also doing a lot of voter outreach focusing on Black communities in voter suppression states. So I'm building up all the phone banks for doing this. So I'm going to share the direct link that will allow everyone to log in and start making calls with this phone bank, and then I'll show everyone how to do it.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Before we dive into like the nitty-gritty of how to do the phone banking, can you just talk to us real quickly about like why is it so important that people are making these phone calls today?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's so important because there are a lot of different rules about voting. these rules are changing in different states, and not everyone is 100% clear on, where they can drop their mail ballot. Um, Sometimes rules are added about early voting that were not
Mhm.
previously present for the year before. So there are a lot of changing things in Nevada, and
Mhm.
in all the states that we're covering, that can change from election to election. And so it's important that what these calls are doing, for vote equality. What these calls are doing is they're first just trying to make the process of voting as easy as possible. Um, and then also just encouraging them to, visit the vote equality links that are bringing them to information about the campaign.
Awesome.
But first and foremost, these calls are just trying to make voters' lives as easy as possible in terms of how they can get out and vote.
Beautiful. Beautiful. The opposite of what some folks in power are doing. So, doing good work tonight, folks. All right, so teach us. Teach us your ways, Gabriel.
Great. Okay. I'm putting a link in the studio chat. I'm not sure if you need to make that public.
Oh yeah. Well, don't worry. We'll get on it.
Excellent. And then I'm going to share my screen, and um, that will be what that looks like once everyone clicks on the link. So I'm gonna present.
It's that vote blue one.
Yeah.
It's just got dropped in the chat over here, over past Gabriel.
Yeah. And then is it appearing for everyone now?
Oh yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Excellent. So this is what the phone bank looks like. I'm going to log out just so you can see, oops, what you have to do. Uh, 1 second. In order to log in. So this is what it's going to look like when you click on the link.
And the link is in the chat also, but here it is if you want to type it in.
Yeah. So the first time you make these calls, you're going to want to click here to register underneath the login button. And you can enter your first name, last name, email address, and zip code. You don't need to enter your phone number or address or anything else like that. Just these are just the 4 required fields. The nice thing about these calls is that they protect your identity. If you save this link in the chat, you'll actually be able to make these calls at a later time too, because this phone bank is going to be up and running. Um, you don't need to wait until there's another group phone bank or anything like that. Um, so you first make your account.
Oh, so people can make calls like whenever they log in?
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's
Okay.
within 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Nevada time.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
All right, so everyone disregard what I said at the top of this hour. If you're watching now and it's before election day and it's between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. in Nevada, you go ahead and make calls right now.
yeah, just make sure you save this link in the chat.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
it will. It'll auto play for
oh, great.
people. Yeah.
Awesome. That's right. We're not in a Zoom right now. I'm in Zoom mode. Um, so you just enter your email once you've made an account. Um, and then I'm not sure if what organization is this Zoom under? Is this Vote Equality or is it
I mean, the broadcast is through Fandom Forward,
sort of
but
okay,
we originally connected with Nevada Now.
Nevada Now, right? Okay, cool. So the applicable, let me just check to see if so for now you can just click voter equality. I'm sorry, vote equality um, as your campaign organization if you want. This is not necessarily, you don't have to select anything here. It's just like a fun aspect of these phone banks that will tally all your calls to them. So afterwards, when you all want to say, like, everyone here made this many calls, it's easier for me to run back and count up how many calls everyone made total. Um,
Cool.
but that's totally not necessary because this phone bank was made specifically for these organizations. So I'll be able to add that up anyway. So basically, long story short, you can ignore this volunteer organization drop. You click login. And this is what the phone bank looks like. This is how you start the call. These calls are made on your browser. So you may have to enable, the browser to use your mic or something like that. But it's pretty straightforward. When you click start call, it'll make a ding sound just to let you know that your mic and your audio are working correctly. And then for people that you don't reach, or you're not able to have a conversation with, this is the top little survey introduction. I'm going to go over the rules real quick. Bad number is when you reach a number that sounds like it's broken, or it's not working correctly. Do not disconnect it, anything like that. Do not calls, when you reach someone, they pick up and they say, please put me on the do not call list. No answer is when you're not able to leave a voicemail, but it may not be a wrong number. It still could be a right number. You're not sure. So that could be like a lot of ambiguous cases. Spanish is when the voter speaks Spanish and you don't speak Spanish, well enough to have a conversation. So there's a language barrier there. Refused is when they hang up immediately or, are rude to you in any way and the call immediately. And then left message is when you're able to leave a voicemail. And if I click clear here, it'll show you the voicemail script. And I just wanted to talk about the fact that leaving voicemails is actually very impactful. You may have done phone banking in the past where they did not leave voicemails. Some organizations have considered it a waste of time just because there's not a whole lot of data on the efficacy. But we did a study with our phone banks in Virginia, and leaving voicemails resulted in turnout rates of 6 percentage point increase.
That's really
Which,
big,
yeah,
actually.
which is huge. And we were calling Black voters in Virginia last year. So this was a group of 10,000 voters who we left voicemails for.
Hmm.
So that's a high enough percentage. That's a high enough number that you start to have some statistical meaning there. So if you find yourself leaving a lot of voicemails, which you will, you're definitely going to be leaving more voicemails than talking to actual people. Just know that you're not just spinning your wheels. It's really actually going to make an impact. Also, you'll notice in the voicemail we're leaving a link, voteequality.us/Nevada votes. That's important to really enunciate that link because they're just going to be hearing this over the audio. And we want to make sure that they're able to go to that website. And then here we have the Washoe County Elections Department. We have that number too. So in case the voter, doesn't have great internet or isn't comfortable, using the computer, we want to give them an option to contact their county's elections office by phone and really get a live person there who can help them.
And how can you repeat that county name again?
I I think it's Washoe actually.
Washoe. All right, we'll
Um,
investigate this.
yeah, I'm gonna have to Google it real quick. Um, or you can actually, someone else
Yeah,
can and give the
we're on it.
results in the chat. Thank you. Um, and now for the live script, there are basically three ways to vote, right? You can vote by mail, you can vote early in person, or you can vote on election day. And you see those options here. So when you actually reach a voter, you're not leaving a voicemail. You go right down to the live script, say, hi, my name is Gabe. I'm volunteering with Vote Equality, not asking for money, just calling to help make voting easy. And that ends with a question. Do you prefer to vote by mail, early in person, or on election day? So whatever they tell you, you select that option and click next. And here we go. It brings you to that section of the script and you're done. Give them this link. To find a voting center for your jurisdiction, please visit voteequality.us/Nevada votes. If you have any questions, again, we're giving them the elections department number. And once you see the review answers box, you're done and you can click save data next call and it will bring up the next voter. So I'll just run through the options here. So that was election day. If they vote early, we're giving them the same link. Luckily, it's the same link for voting early and voting on election day, which is great. Makes the script very simple. And then if they're voting by mail, it's a little bit different because they should be receiving a ballot by mail in Nevada. There's not like a request process the same way there is in other states. So they should have received it at this point. But if they have any questions, again, we're giving them that number and then we're showing them, we're saying you can mail it in or you can drop it in at a vote center. To find the closest location to you, you can visit this website. As we get closer to the election, I would more heavily emphasize, dropping it off as opposed to mailing it in. Just because you never know, mail delays can happen at the last second. And then we're just reminding them, make sure your contact information for your voter registration is up to date in case there are any questions about your ballot. Now, I should mention that this list of voters are all supposed to be registered voters according to our list. So you're not going to get too many people who are not registered to vote. When you do, that will be most likely a data error in the actual voter file. And so, yeah, that's voting by mail. And now if they say that they have already voted, that's good too. We're just giving them a link in case they're on the enthusiastic side, giving them a link that they can share with their friends and family about voting. And then if they say that they are not voting, it depends on, sometimes a voter will tell you, I'm not voting, they want to hang up, or they're not voting for religious reasons or anything like that, which is great. We just say, okay, understand. Thank you for your time and have a good day. But sometimes people will tell you they're not voting and they sound like they're willing to have a conversation about the importance of voting. These calls are nonpartisan, so we're not talking about political party and we're not mentioning specific candidates. But beyond that, you can ask the voter what issues are important to them. You can connect that to voting by just connecting it to how elected officials can impact voting. You can also mention the fact that, the more often you vote, the easier it becomes because you become more familiar with the whole process of voting. And then when you don't vote, you're allowing others to choose your leaders for you. So these are just three canned, arguments for the importance of voting that are nonpartisan that we just wanted to throw in the script in case you're drawing a blank and someone says, well, why should I vote? And you just want something quick to grab onto. You don't have to use any of them if you don't want. And you're definitely not encouraged to argue with these voters, but just sometimes you'll reach a voter who sounds discouraged but is willing to have a conversation about, they can be like, well, persuade me. Why don't you persuade me? I've had a couple people say that to me when I've been door-to-door canvassing in the past. And I remember at one point I was just so exhausted at the end of the day that I kind of drew a blank of what reason. There's so many reasons that I couldn't think of one. So this is just there in case you need it. And that's it. That's our script. When you're done, when you reach that end section, you can just click Save Data Next Call, and it will bring up the next voter. And that's pretty much it. If there's anything wrong happening with one of these calls, like after you click Start Call, there's a long period of silence and nothing ever happens, you can always just refresh by either clicking Skip Call at the bottom or just clicking on the URL and then hitting enter. So you can just refresh the web page. That can be a reset that will fix things. And let me check. I'm looking in the comments to see if there are any questions, but I don't see any yet. The other thing I'll mention, one last thing, is that at the very top right corner, there's the Show As button. If you click that, it'll just show all of the different sections of the script so you can look at them and review them before you make these calls. So that's there for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So can I ask a question that's not about the script? I think this tool is great and it looks really easy to use, and I have confidence in all of our friends watching, whether you're watching live or watching later tomorrow while you do dishes or whatever. I know who you all are. So we are really the way we found y'all was we were looking at Nevada Question 1, which is the Equality of Rights Amendment, and it is protecting everybody based on race, color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, disability. It's a long list. There's a lot of things on this list. How does making these calls tonight impact the chance that that's going to get passed?
So let's actually look at the link that we're sending to folks, because that was the link that Katie sent to me to put in this script. So oh, great. I'm still sharing my screen. So this is the link that we're sending people. And so all of the links that we're sending people that are Nevada specific, checking your registration, going to early voting, they're bringing them to the Vote Equality website. And as you can see here, it says, tell friends and family, equality is on the line this November. Vote yes on ballot Q1. In
Rad.
terms of finding more information, they have this overview of statewide ballot questions. That's a looks like a nonpartisan ballot guide. And then here's question number one.
Mhm.
But I wanted you to, Katie, if you could point me to any other information that's on this website, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, no, I just wanted people to see that this was on here and this
Totally.
is where folks can find more information about the ballot initiative. So, you got it.
Great. And yeah, how this differs from um, do you want to talk about, what's specific um, about this ballot measure in Nevada as opposed to like the national effort?
Uh, the national effort, like what we have understood about it, is um, this is looking at amending the state constitution, right?
Right.
And amending the U.S. Constitution is a challenge, and you have to have a pretty large number of states that all want to agree on making this amendment, right? And right now, we are having a real problem in the country agreeing on anything across any number of states. Um, and so, this is the kind of thing that if we can get laws like this passed in individual states, you get enough states to make this the law of the land. One, it's protecting people in that state, which is number one, very important. But also down the line, it makes it so when we're saying, hey, we want to make a federal amendment that is exactly the same as the thing you already have in your state.
Right.
Nevada, do you support it? Yes, of course we do, because we already have it in place. So it's both like a short term protection strategy for that state and also like a longer building term for the whole country.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I just found this more specific link. It's voteequality.us/Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there are some frequently asked questions. Um, if I click here,
Cool looking volunteers.
that's some good info right there.
Yeah. So if you want to know more specifically about question one, that's where you can find it. If you're ready to start making calls, start doing it. If you have questions as you go along, let us know. But I think folks are we haven't seen any questions come through, and that usually means that people are just starting without us. Um, so Gabriel, thank
Excellent.
you so much for taking us through this tool tonight and helping us get set up.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck making calls.
Thank you. We're gonna have a great time. Uh, Thank you. Oop, he's gone. We did it! Yay! So, for everybody at home, go ahead and start making calls now. Like I said, whether you're watching live or you're watching, as long as it's before November 8th, you can start making calls anytime. I mean, don't make them in the middle of the night. If it's 4 a.m. in Nevada, don't call them, but reasonable daytime hours. In the meantime, we're going to start bringing on some of our special guests, special Heartstopper fan creators that we have coming on. And our first one is Emily Thomas. Hey!
Hello.
I summoned you.
You did. I'm here.
I'm so
Hello.
excited. Emily, oh my gosh. So I know I love your beautiful comics that you have made, but could you please introduce yourself for folks in our audience in case they don't know your beautiful work and who
Of
you
course.
are.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Emily. I go online by Frog and the Tadpoles, though I haven't really drawn any frogs for quite some time. I'm 24. I live in the UK, and I'm a freelance illustrator and graphic novelist. And I worked on the Heartstopper guest comic Paper Kisses.
That's a cool, it's a cool job and a cool comic. Also, thank you for being here very late in the evening for you. We very much appreciate
It's
it.
quite all right.
Yeah. For anybody, we do get this question all the time for folks who are international. Are they allowed to make calls? Yes, you sure are. You can't you can't vote in an American election, but you are welcome to make phone calls encouraging Americans to do it. So go for it. We've had
That's good to know. I didn't know that to start with, to be fair.
yeah, yeah, we have had people call from all over the world before. So, uh, people, if you are outside of the U.S. and just looking on in horror, there is something you can do. It's make these phone calls. Um, so anyway, folks are making phone calls now. For anybody who's like getting started, you can go ahead and start pressing the dialer because you are going to get like a lot of numbers that just they don't pick up. It doesn't go to voicemail. Like, you know, everybody on here is either like millennial or Gen Z. We don't pick up our phones, but so you will have time to be able to listen and still be like making calls, and you can just mute it when you are talking on the phone. Okay, that's the dull stuff. Emily, let's talk about Heartstopper. Can you tell me a little bit? So you got to make this guest comic. Can you tell me a little bit of like what was that process like of like getting to make the comic both like how'd you get involved with that and also like how did you come up with the story for Nick and Charlie?
Well, I actually saw the advert that Alice put out on her Patreon when she was looking for guest artists, and I was like, well, okay, I'll have to apply. So I like madly rushed together to get my portfolio ready, and I sent it to her, and got the email back, and we worked together over emails to create the comic together. The comic together, which was really lovely. And I basically just came up with loads of different ideas to start with, sent her all of them in this big long email. I was like, oh, we could do this or this or this. And then we sort of settled on Paper Kisses, which is exploring Charlie's anxiety and how Nick helps him with that. Yeah. Um,
It's so sweet.
well, I used to make like paper cranes quite a lot for
Mm-hmm.
for my own anxiety, so I
Mm.
thought, why not pull on lived experiences, force that on Charlie,
Yeah.
um,
It doesn't
and
feel forced though. It feels very in character.
I think when I thought about it, I was like, I can imagine him, enjoying doing it, and then getting a bit obsessed, and then having quite a lot of them in his room, sort of everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I quite like the idea of like seeing that journey from the start,
Mm-hmm.
and like Nick getting really involved and like sort of helping along the way.
Aren't they're so sweet. They're
they,
like
they are, they're so
I
lovely.
just it's something that you just love seeing people be in love with each other.
Yeah.
It's I love them. So it sounds like clearly you were a fan before you got involved with doing the guest comic at all. So like what drew you to Heartstopper?
Well, I actually was a little bit late to the Heartstopper party. I only really found it last year. I was in Waterstones, and I
Mm-hmm.
just stumbled across the book. Was like flicking through it, and I recognised the art from my old Tumblr days. I
Oh
was
my
like,
God,
where have I
yes.
seen this before? But I'd never read the webcomic when it was coming out, and like I must have just liked that random Tumblr post and forgotten it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I found the books. I bought the first two that day, went home, read the first one, went back the next day and bought the second two,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, and read them all far too quickly. And then yeah, just sort of I got to Webtoons,
Hmm.
subscribed,
Yep.
told myself I wasn't gonna read it as it came out because then when the last book came out, I could just read it as a book. But then, got too obsessed and read it as it came out. So I'm all up to date now, but
Relatable content.
yeah.
That's honestly very similar to how I got into it also. Was that same feeling of like being in the bookstore and being like, man, this feels familiar. Why does this feel familiar?
It's like you've seen it somewhere. Where was it? Probably Tumblr.
Because a formative part of my brain is just made up of old Tumblr posts.
Same.
uh, so, like, it's very cool to be a part of this community that has loved this thing so much. What has been the fandom reaction to your guest comic?
Honestly, everyone has been so lovely. It was genuinely overwhelming, especially the first day it came out. I didn't really expect like I obviously know that people love Heartstopper, but
Yeah.
um I find that some, like people are mostly about the main story. So I didn't really expect that many people to like actually come and find my page. And like I got so many lovely messages. So like thank you to everyone who read it. Um yeah,
There
and
are.
like loads of people commenting about how they also made paper cranes to help with their anxiety, or that they were going to start making paper cranes now and give it a go and like see if it helped, which was like amazing. But yeah, people were just so lovely, and like I've never posted anything on Webtoons before, um, so I'm like quite recent into the world of comic creation. So
Hmm.
it's just really appreciative to like hear people's nice comments, and people were really patient even when like I'm me learning my comics and how to do them. And yeah, I think
It's fascinating that you're new to it because they were. It doesn't come across that way when you're looking at them.
thank you.
So
Yeah, I haven't been doing comics for that long, but it's sort of it was like my first past when I did my masters in illustration that I
uh-huh.
did in comics and
Yeah.
children's books. Um, but it was like my first outside of university experience into comics. And yeah, I just thought, you know what, if you're gonna do it, try and do it properly. I'd never drawn backgrounds really before,
Yeah.
so like Charlie's bedroom was a nightmare, but
Yeah,
lovely,
man.
a lovely nightmare.
Oh,
But
there is personality all over those walls. That
I
is
know,
that.
luckily Alice is so good at putting those things like the pages in the background, so many detailed pages. I was like, brilliant. I've got
Yeah.
some referencing.
Yeah. That was really cool actually to see it translate like into the Netflix show,
Oh yeah,
and 'cause it
100%.
did feel like the comic because the
Mhm.
comic was so detailed.
Yeah, they did so well with that, didn't they? Well, all of the set designs. It was like every one of their bedrooms were like so them.
Yeah. Ah,
Yeah,
it's so good. It's so
I
good.
know. I might have to rewatch it again.
I don't think you can see the public chat, but I'm gonna just we've got some like, yay, Emily, Emily, we're so excited you're here. Couple people having a similar experience of wanting to wait for the book, but just obsessively reading it
Yeah, every
anyway.
time there's a notification, I can't help
Yeah.
myself.
um, so folks are making calls right now around this Equal Rights Amendment in Nevada, or I think Equality of Rights Amendment. I want to make sure I have the name right. Um, and so like, what kind of broader connections do you see between Heartstopper and equal rights, queer rights, racial justice, all the rights?
All the rights.
Yeah.
I think that there's loads, really, isn't there? Um, I think really Heartstopper is just good at like showing how every single person um, has or should have the right to live an authentic life without judgment or expectation. I mean, I think privacy is such a big theme in Heartstopper.
Yeah.
It's quite literally about treating people with kindness and humanity. Yeah, so I just think human rights shouldn't come with conditions. And
Yeah,
Heartstopper really good at showing that.
absolutely. I want to put in here too because I know this like is an elephant in the room for Heartstopper fandom right now, but what happened yesterday with Kit Connor, the actor that portrays Nick, um, yeah, definitely like this is a don't force people to out themselves space. Like all the work we're doing tonight is around protecting queer people and protecting people and allowing them to be who they are. So like just gonna throw it out there. The theme of privacy, the theme of having time to grow up and be who you are and become comfortable with your identity. I know y'all are on board with this, but I just want to put it out there. Don't pressure minor celebrities from Netflix shows or anyone else to come out before they're ready. So, I don't want he's a big deal in our world. Nick Nelson's a big deal in our world, but I'm just putting out there in the pantheon of celebrities, he probably falls a little lower on the scale. Um, I am curious. Uh, what do you think Heartstopper can teach us about sort of using our voice, using our vote, using the power that we do have to protect each other?
Um, I think that if you can relate to any character, even if it's just one character in Heartstopper, I think you should be able to see that a system that doesn't celebrate diversity or prioritize humanity can't really be our future. You know, I think
Mm-hmm.
if it, there's, yeah, I think every single one of them has a way to reach out. You know, everyone's covered in Heartstopper.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Do you have a favorite character?
Um, I think Nick has always been a favorite of mine since the start. I think I see a lot of myself in Nick, especially younger 16-year-old me.
Yeah,
I see a lot of his journey. Yeah, and I always enjoyed like seeing Nick's side of things.
mm-hmm.
But I love them all. As everyone said before, I mean Nelly, obviously, and I
Mm-hmm.
also absolutely love the teachers. I just think they're adorable. I can't wait to see them in season two.
Yeah. They're they are this series is definitely I don't think I've ever been into a series before that was so consistently dedicated to being adorable and just being sort of like the we have like warm, cozy fall vibes all the time and just I love that. I love that about it.
100%. I think that's one of the things that drew me to Heartstopper in the first place. You know, it's just nice in a world where at the moment nice things aren't as common. So you just
Mhm.
you like latch onto it. I think that's why it means so much to so many people as well. Because yeah, it's just
Yeah.
warm and cozy, as you say.
It's warm and cozy and it allows us to like express those things to each other
Yeah,
also,
like
which
even
I
hard subjects that are talked about in Heartstopper are like done with respect, and it's done in a soft, gentle way. This
yeah.
like feels warm and cozy, and like yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Um, we are coming to the end of our time here, so I want to ask you that ever important question. Where do you like people to find you on the internet?
Instagram mainly. I don't really use Twitter at all. I've got it, but I
You
don't
know
use it.
what? That's probably fine.
Well, I was going to say after everything recently, I'm like I don't think I'd want to. But yeah, Instagram maybe at Frog and the Tadpoles. I'd love to see anybody there. Yeah, you
Wonderful.
feel free to hit me a message and I will always reply. Yeah,
Yay. Emily, it's been such a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much
no, thank
for
you.
staying up late with us
No,
and
it's all right.
helping fight for people's rights on the other side of the world. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much
We
for having me.
we're all gonna get there together. That's how it happens. Thank you so much, Emily. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye. Goodbye. All right. Hello, everyone. How are your phone calls going? I hope you're talking to lots of nice people or leaving lots of nice messages. My favorite way to do it. Um, Emily was fabulous, and we have some new guests coming up. I think Sarah's coming back now. Is it true? Is my friend Sarah coming? Yay!
Hi,
Hi,
I'm
Sarah.
here.
How's it
Hi.
going?
Good. It was so lovely hearing Emily talk. I'm just feeling very happy and I just love this fandom so much. I'm so excited to
I,
talk with everyone tonight.
I love that we were able to kick it off with a British person and hear that familiar Heartstopper British accent.
Yes.
Sarah, I want to tell you, we got trained on how to make the phone calls. People are making phone calls now. I'm very proud of everyone. I know phone calls can be a high anxiety thing, but I'm super proud that you are doing them. Uh, Go ahead, make a couple of calls now. Pause if you need to pause. We'll still be here. It's the internet. We'll be here forever.
hmm
Um, but I also want to remind people if another way you want to show your support for One Vote Protects and for all the issues we care about is you'd like to wear it on your body when you go to the voting booth, you can do that at fandomforward.org/shop. We have beautiful t-shirts there designed by the wonderful Acacia, who makes all of our really awesome merch, and has a nice, like, here's how all these issues tie together kind of look to it. So check that out as a way to support Fandom Forward and the campaign. Now, I'm going to be leaving you to make space for our next amazing guest. So, Sarah, I think you're going to be great. I think you can make calls. I think you can lead this live stream. We can do it, everyone.
We can do it.
I
Thank
love
you,
you.
Katie. Oh, love you.
I'll see you all. I'm gonna see you all in the chat.
Bye, Katie.
Bye bye.
All right. I'm so excited for our next guest to come on in just a second. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Marissa. Can you start off with introducing yourself for our audience?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I am Marissa Loren, and I am a 19-year-old independent singer-songwriter.
Yes. Full disclosure, I totally just found your video on TikTok very organically. It came up on my For You page, and I'm pretty sure I sent it to my friend Jessica, who is here watching, and she's in the chat tonight. And we absolutely loved it. And I know a lot of other people really love the song that you wrote. So I guess I should go back a second and say you wrote a song about Heartstopper and posted it on TikTok. So what inspired you to do that?
Oh my gosh. Well, when I first saw Heartstopper, I think I never read the books beforehand, so I mean, guilty, but I came across it when it came out on Netflix, and it was like a big thing, and everyone was talking about it. So I was like, let me check it out. Let me see what's going on. I saw it. I'm pretty sure I cried every episode, some way, shape, or form, or something like that. I think it hit hard. I think it's such an important message, and when it comes to my songwriting, like it's always based on either personal feelings or just something that I think is important that everyone should listen to or everyone relates to in some way, shape, or form. And music is like a huge thing with that for me. So that's why I decided, I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can create like a song and people can listen to it like any hour of the day, whenever they want, and remind them of this beautiful show. And I was like, you know what? Let's just try it. And this is what happened, which is like crazy to me. But yeah, that was kind of my idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's such a, integral part of like being in a fandom or fan culture is like taking the original thing and like remixing it, like redoing it in your own way. And yeah, I absolutely love the song you wrote. So how long have you been like writing music, writing songs, and how did you get started with that?
Ooh, I've always been into music since I was like really young. I did like little, school singing competitions and things like that. But I think like writing music was probably in the beginning of high school, where it seems to be all the feelings come in about so many things. And I'm out of high school now, but that was just like, it was like, high school was like a moment where like everything just like
Mhm.
flowed, every possible feeling. And so that's when I really started writing songs. And so um, that's kind of where that started. But I'm like a theater kid, and like, like I've always been like in the musical theater type thing, and like auditioning and doing like singing, dancing, and all that stuff. So I've always been interested in that. But um, specifically songwriting really started in high school, when I just kept going ever since, really.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask, when you know, created the song and posted it, I know what my reaction was, which was that I loved it. But what was the reaction from like the wider fandom that you got? What did people think about it?
um it was crazy to me. All of It was a lot of positivity, which I loved. My first thing was that I wasn't expecting really anyone to see it, because it was just like, it was in the back of my mind, and it was like, let's hope maybe like a few people like it, and then I can like move on. But I definitely was not expecting the reaction that I did get, and the amount of people who did love it and shared it and made like edits and like all of that stuff. And it was really, really exciting. And I was like nervous, but most of, like, I'd say like 99% of the comments and shares were all very positive and very supportive. And I think that was what was important. I think I like hit that right audience, the people who like get it, and the people who will like appreciate it in their own way and things like that. So I think that was, I mean, kind of a lucky thing for me. But the reaction was great. Like, it was unexpected, but it was so great.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. I think in general the Heartstopper fandom is very kind and supportive, and so I'm glad that you had that reaction. It doesn't surprise me that everyone was very very lovely about your song. Um, and I know that you're feeling a bit under the weather. Otherwise, we would have asked you to perform it. But where can people, you know, see the video or listen to the song if they want to listen after the fact?
So you can definitely find it on my TikTok, which is the first place I posted it. I posted it in two separate parts. I did like a first part and then a second part. And then everyone in the comments was like, you should like put it out so I can actually like listen to it like beginning to end. So you can find it
Mhm.
on like any streaming service like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and YouTube, even like YouTube Music. You can literally find it everywhere you listen to music, which is great. So
That's awesome. And what is the song called specifically?
it's called Heartstopper Never Ending Story.
Right. I just want to make sure that everyone knows what to search for. Awesome. So now I'd love to talk a little bit more about Heartstopper, you know, in general, and what we do here at Fandom Forward is make connections between the TV shows that we love and the wider, you know, real world. And so people are making phone calls tonight to protect equal rights for everyone in Nevada, as we've been talking about.
Mhm.
And so, what kinds of connections do you think can be made between, you know, what happens in Heartstopper, the story, the characters, and equal rights? You know, what does Heartstopper teach us about protecting queer rights, racial justice, and you know, all these different issues?
Yeah, so I think there's so much more to dissect in this show than just like, I guess what you're watching. Like, what you're watching is like a beautiful love story, but there's like also so much behind that. And like a big thing that I did realize was diversity.
Mhm.
and how diverse the cast was, depending like on sexuality, race, just diversity in general. Um, there's a character for everybody, is what I noticed, and what was like huge for me, and I'm sure like a lot of people, there is a character personality wise, whether it's race, sexuality, like there's a person for everybody, and there's an experience for everybody. So the word diversity is what I connect with this show, because it can go towards like anything, when like diversity in ages, diversity races, like sexualities, everybody's different and everybody's appreciated. So when you see this group of kids, these young adults, um who like look like you, they speak like you, they think like you can really sit there and be like, I can see myself on this screen. And not a lot of people could have said that really before this show came out, because there's always like a very like a specific type of person on different shows, but you have one show that has possibly everyone with some type of relatability. And I think that that is such a cool thing, and is something we barely see, but I feel like now we are, and that is what this show has really like changed for a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great point and so well said. And I think like, even when the show, or even really when the casting announcements came out, people were commenting about how the actors, actually looked like teenagers, and just how it's so amazing how Alice, both in the comics and the TV show, have been able to just really portray like these people very authentically. It's very diverse, but I feel like it's not, you know, tokenized, I guess, tokenized representation. It feels very authentic. And I love that about this story. So yeah, definitely agree with everything you said there. Um, and this event is part of our One Vote Protects campaign. And so we're talking about how one person's vote can protect so many different rights and so many different people. So what do you think Heartstopper can maybe teach us about using our one vote and using our power to protect others?
Oh wow. I think it's a huge thing that this TV show affects a lot of people positively, but I think I think what this show can do, um, for people who are like putting in calls and things like that, is just that we have taken a lot of time to be here where we are in like the world and in our society. And so I think the keyword of love in any aspect is, if you think about just loving each other and appreciating each other for who they are, and knowing that the differences that the difference in people is what makes this world amazing. There are so many downsides, there are so many struggles and things that we like to stick and think about, but I think Heartstopper is something that can really make a lot of people like open their eyes and be like, this is just a group of people who love each other. And it's important to see that. So just watching this show, you can just sit there and be like, wow, like I mean I could sit there and be like, I love literally every single one of you. I don't know you personally, but I literally love you, and I would do like anything to portray that love into the world. So I think the people who are making the calls can watch this show and be like, I want to reflect the love on this show to other people around me.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And the show is so good at talking about romantic love and non-romantic love and families, siblings. And it's just a good reminder that we all live in this world together, and we're in communities all over the place, and that extending that love to everyone is super important for all of us going forward. So yeah, that's very well said. Thank you, Marissa. Um, so yeah, as we've been, talking about all night, people are making phone calls. Do you have anything that you want to maybe say to people who are making phone calls? Maybe some people are a little nervous. Anything that might, encourage them to keep calling and keep doing this hard activist work, but work that's so necessary.
I think in this type of aspect is when it comes to making calls, I mean, if I were also talking to myself, I'd be like, what is a better world for you? And I wouldn't tell anybody that that's a selfish thing to think, because they're like your family members, your friends, like all of your loved ones. Like, instead of just like thinking like just randomly out to the world, think about what you would like the people the people younger than you, what kind of world you would like them to go into, and what kind of mark you want to make on the people behind us. And as this world gets bigger, and as it changes, and as it gets becomes like a bit more different in whatever way that could possibly be, to think about the people you are with right now, and think about how you would want to see the world changing, and how you would want it to affect the people that you are close to, the people that you do know, and have that idea for everybody before you, and everybody who's coming in after you, who might not have any idea like really what's happening until they're taught. And so I think that's like a main thing that like I would at least think about when it comes to something like this, is just the effect that these calls can make on the people you are close to, and then people all the way across the world, and how in the end all of that coming together can make something amazing.
Yeah, I think that's so true. We ran another phone bank a few weeks ago, and we talked a lot about, we've been talking about one vote protects throughout this campaign, but also, your one phone call or your 10 phone calls that you make might not seem, super impactful in the long run, but they really are. If you can talk to one person or leave one voicemail that helps someone get out there and vote, that's amazing. And that's, so impactful, even if it feels like a small number. So we are reaching the end of our time together, but I have a few more questions I want to ask. One being very, very simply, do you have a favorite Heartstopper character?
Oh gosh. It's simply, but like probably
Yeah.
not a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm probably gonna say. Okay. I'm probably gonna have to go with Nick. I think it's very
It's
hard.
so hard.
Very toe-in-toe. Nick, just because he is like the exact character that, like, episode 1 to the last episode, like every single emotion that he has is just so well done, and they all did so good, which is why it's like practically like impossible to like pick one. But I think Nick, I mean, he's such a golden retriever. He's so sweet and so cute. But if not Nick, it'll probably be Nellie. I mean, like she takes the best character. Actually, that should have been my answer. Should have been my first answer. But yeah.
Some people did say Nellie in the chat earlier. So yeah, Nick's journey, especially in season 1 or the first book, it's kind of hard to beat. It's so just awesome to see his character, go through all those feelings and discovery and figuring out his identity. Such a cool, impactful character for all of us to enjoy.
Mhm.
Do you have this is kind of my last question for you, I guess, but do you have any things you're working on besides the Heartstopper song that you want to plug or let people know about, or where should people follow you on the internet if you want them to?
Yes, follow me on everything. Everything's really the same. TikTok is Marissa Loren _. Same with Instagram. Um, or Marissa Loren with 2 N's is TikTok, and then Instagram is Marissa Loren _. So you can find me there. You can find every song, like all my songs before they go on like a music platform, or all my TikToks. So if you want to scroll down, I've got a lot of TikToks. So just keep scrolling. I did come out with a new single called Like You Do. It is also on all platforms. It's more of a personal song about my best friend Kate. Shout out Kate. But so that is, I think that came out like a week ago. I think a week or a week and a half ago. And I am working on an album right now. Don't have any specific dates, but they'll all be posted on every social media. So yeah.
That's so exciting, and so awesome, and we'll definitely be supporting you over here at Fandom Forward. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Awesome. All right, have a good night, Marissa.
You too. Good night, everyone.
All right. Okay, that was so fun. So everyone keep making those phone calls. And we have one more, well, actually 3 more guests, I believe, joining us. And so let's introduce them now. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi. I'm so excited to talk with all of you because you all have been doing such cool things in the Heartstopper fandom. So let's start with each one of you introducing yourselves and what it is that you are part of. And let's start with Ricky.
Hi. Hi, my name is Ricky. I use they, he pronouns. I'm 18. I'm from Georgia. I'm part of Heartstopper Pride Party. And we just, yeah.
Heartstopper Pride Party. Awesome. And how about, is it Melissa?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Melissa. I can also go by Mel. My pronouns are she, they. I'm 19 and I'm from Florida. Along with Ricky, I am also with the Heartstopper Pride Party. We started on Twitter. We also have an Instagram. I made a website. So yeah.
Very cool. We'll get into talking about all of this and what these groups mean for sure. But yeah, Micah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Micah. I am 22. I use he, they pronouns, and I founded and organized Heartstopper Twitter Pride.
Awesome. So let's start with talking about that. So what is Heartstopper Twitter Pride? What is it exactly that y'all do? And how can people get involved if they want to?
Yeah, so it was something that we started just this past June. I was talking to a couple of friends of mine on Twitter, and someone just tweeted out hey, what if we had a Heartstopper prom, like Heartstopper Twitter prom? And I took that idea and we ran with it. So we created a fan project where we hosted an online Pride weekend, which included spaces, events, and then ended the week with our Heartstopper Twitter prom, which everyone asked each other. They all got dressed up. It was really cute and awesome. Aww. And during this weekend, we fundraised for Trans Lifeline. So Trans Lifeline it provides trans peer support for the community, and it's run by and for trans people, which is super awesome. And we ended up raising over $1,100 over the span of a week and a half for this organization. Just with Twitter, there was no outside fundraising. It's just the support of the Heartstopper community here on Twitter.
That's that's awesome. That's very cool. I love hearing about this fan organizing. Obviously, we're all about that at Fandom Forward. And so we'll talk a little bit more about, what exactly inspired you all to do that. But I also want to hear from Melissa and Ricky. What is the group that you both are part of?
Right, so I'm kind of going to lead the talking for our group because Ricky has a little bit of a cold.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to take over for most of the talking. So Heartstopper Pride Party was actually started by someone we call Lou. She's amazing. We love her. She basically tweeted out, and I saw it.
Right
Ricky
now,
saw
she
it.
just sent it to DM.
So yeah, she tweeted it, and some of us saw it, and they were looking for some people to help out with like graphics and whatnot, and I was like, I'd love to help out in any way. And so we got a lot of people. I think there's like 10, 13 of us. Basically, we have like little Zoom parties, and we do Quizlets. Sorry, not Quizlets, Kahoots. We also do a dance party at the end that people can stay for. It's optional, but we put like Heartstopper songs that people request, and we also do like a Q&A we started doing where we ask questions when they sign up regarding like Heartstopper and Pride, and they ask us, the staff, and we also ask them some questions as well.
So is this a recurring like party you have for the community?
Yeah, we've had two. We were gonna have a Halloween one, but we ended up having some scheduling issues, so we had to cancel that. But I think we're talking about possibly doing a Christmas one. So stay tuned for that if that ends up happening.
That sounds very fun. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, it seems like your groups are very have done some organizing within the community just to provide some community spaces for people, and also, Micah, as you mentioned, some activism, some donating money for groups that could really use support right now. So I'd love to hear a little bit more from each one of you. Ricky, if you're not feeling well, no worries. But what was it about Heartstopper that inspired you to kind of go above and beyond? Obviously you all, I'm assuming, felt, a strong connection to the show, and then decided to do something outside of just watching the show. So what was it that inspired you to do that and get involved in the community and in the fandom?
I feel like we should, Micah, if you want to talk first, I feel like we can keep going with that order.
Sure. So I really we just saw a need for, like, we all were like working together. We some of us can't actually go to prides. There was a need for a pride event that people could go to, especially in the Heartstopper community. There's a bunch of people who are just figuring themselves out and don't feel comfortable or safe going to these in real life events that some of us are fortunate enough to go to. So hosting an online one gave them the opportunity to be able to be around other people in their community without having to step forward into the world and be out and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point.
All right. Basically, honestly, everything Micah said. We wanted to host something where someone, I'm sorry, where everyone could just be themselves, celebrate Pride, Heartstopper, something they love. There's a lot of places where being queer is looked frowned down upon, and it's basically just like completely wrong, which is not okay. It's everyone's equal, no matter your race, sexual identity, like gender expression, like anything. Everyone's equal, and we just wanted to host something where people could be themselves and not have to worry about being judged, or like just basically be themselves and have a blast with other people that enjoy what they enjoy.
Also, I don't know about Micah's organization, but I've noticed a lot with our Pride party that it's especially like younger people, and like,
yep.
I had freshly turned 18 when I heard about Lou's thing and DM'd her. And I was like, I really wish I had something like that when I was like 14, 15. That would be,
yeah.
I think just creating a space for everyone, no matter their age, but especially younger people, to kind of have that freedom to explore without being judged is really cool.
We also had a lot of older people. I was very surprised. We had one it was Hal and someone else. I forgot his name, but they were like two men that were a gay couple, and they'd been married, and they were so excited. They had like their own podcast or like something, and they were so excited. They always tweeted at us and stuff with the videos in. I love them so much, and we had so many people that we remember. Shout out to Cardboard Bash as well. They're watching.
No, yeah, you guys talked about the age range of people who enjoy Heartstopper, which is honestly one of the reasons that I feel like I enjoy it so much, is that it was something that I probably needed when I was 12, 13, 14, figuring out my identity now as a 22-year-old who's out and has had open gay relationships. And even my dad, who was married to my mom for the first 12 years and then found himself and is now married to his husband for 10 years, where gay marriage wasn't even legalized when he came out. So like seeing the generational gaps in the Heartstopper community from people like my dad's age to people younger than me, still in middle school and high school.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know when the show came out, that's what something a lot of people were talking about, especially from the older generations, that they, wish that they had this show when they were younger. And I'm just so glad that it's here now for all of us to enjoy. So I think all of you have touched on this a little bit, but I want to ask specifically, like, what do you think it is about Heartstopper that can bring so many fans together in these community spaces, or just bring fans together in general?
I feel like the widespread of diversity in the cast, whether that just be the actors themselves or like the characters they're playing in the comics and all of that, it's a wide enough spread that there's enough characters that you can see yourself in somebody, whether that be one of the teachers who ends up being in a relationship with one of the teachers, or Charlie and Nick, or Tara and Darcy, or any of them really. And you just see yourself in the characters that you're watching on the screen and reading in the book.
Yeah. Also, I feel like Heartstopper is honestly just like an overall very positive and just happy series. There's been a really difficult thing, I think, with LGBTQ represented shows and books where it kind of tries to shine like a spotlight on the negative aspects of some issues within the queer community. But I think the author Alice does a really, really good job at not doing that in the way that it's negative, and tackles those issues in a super positive and respectful way, just as Marissa was saying. But yeah, the fandom has its ups and downs, just as every fandom does, but the fandom itself is absolutely amazing. The people we've had through these parties are the sweetest people ever, no matter the age. They're all just so happy to be part of the fandom. It's awesome.
Yeah, because of Heartstopper Twitter, I feel like I've found some like really close people in my life. Like I talk to some of these people every day. We text, FaceTime, and a year ago I didn't even know who they were. Like a year ago I didn't even know of their existence, and now we text every single day. We talk every single day. They might live on the opposite end of the continent or the world than I do, but we talk every single day, and it's crazy how online communities do that. I haven't really been part of any online communities rather than just content creation myself, like using my actual name and making content. Like I've never been part of a fandom before this one, and it was a good introduction to fandoms, because I've seen some pretty negative connotations of being in the fandom in the past, and the Heartstopper Twitter is definitely a roller coaster, but I've met some of the closest people that I talk to now. So
I agree with everything both of them said, and I think like you can see yourself, like mostly everyone can see themselves in either some part of the cast or the characters or the creators or anything like that. And I think being able to see yourself in something is something that really draws people together and really draws people in and inspires them to want to do more.
Yeah, definitely agree. So tonight people are making phone calls to voters in Nevada as they're watching us, because Nevada has an equal rights amendment on their ballot that we really want to get passed. And so we've been asking our guests, we've already talked about it a little bit in our conversation, but what kinds of broader connections do you see between the story of Heartstopper and equal rights in general, whether it be protecting queer rights, protecting racial justice, or getting racial justice, for people. What kinds of connections do you see between Heartstopper and equal rights?
Yeah, so like we were just saying like a few minutes ago, the diversity in the characters in the cast, that intersectionality of race and ethnicity and being queer is something that most TV shows or media in general just don't touch on as much. It's either one, you get queer, or one, you get race and ethnicity. You don't generally get both. So having that intersectionality where all these queer people are being introduced to more race and ethnic backgrounds and stories that they can get introduced to now because they have a similar interest of being queer. So they can be more into that stuff.
Sorry. Yeah, I think nailed it right on the head. I mean, honestly, everything's it's so diverse, and everyone is like, it's just such a positive outlook on everything. Like I know I've said it multiple times, but it's really like nothing you can say other than just like positive. Like it's just, it makes you smile, it makes you laugh, even cry, but for a good reason.
Yeah.
I cried a lot. I can tell you that right now. I watched it 15 times and I still cry every time. But yeah, like just despite whether like your race, your color, sexual identity, how you express yourself, everything doesn't matter. Everyone in the show, they're human. Everyone's treated equally, just as it should be in the real world. I just wish that the Osmondverse and what she brings through the books and the show was genuinely how it came out to be in the world, because watching it, it's like you're like transported to like just a positive outlook on things, and then you come right back and you're like, well, that's not going to happen. This is not like that. And it kind of it's kind of like, dang, but you just have to remind yourself that things like this will make that change to make that possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I always think about with the show, which we've all alluded to, is that, it doesn't shy away from tackling hard subjects like mental health or, forced outings and things like that. But there's still always a positive takeaway, or, it's not, especially with Charlie's mental health stuff, it's not sensationalized and dramatized. It's just very authentic and very sensitive and very respectful, as I think a lot of other people have said tonight, which is what I love so much about this story. Ricky, anything you wanted to add? I just want to give you a chance if you want to.
I think they both nailed it on the head. I think especially like, not for me personally, but I know a lot of other Jewish people who were raised in more like Orthodox Jewish settings weren't really introduced to being like that queer was even a thing. It's not that they were like, oh, it's bad. They just straight up just were like, it doesn't exist. And I'm so lucky that that's not how my parents were, and they were very, very accepting. But I think like that intersectionality bit is really important, because it's important, like, to be, for me, it's important that I'm both Jewish and queer. Like, I'm not just Jewish, I'm not just queer. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that, is tackled in this Equal Rights Amendment, because it's a very broad amendment. And so definitely intersectionality is a big part of that. So one last like main question before we let you all go for the night. And so during this campaign, we're, calling it One Vote Protects, because our one vote can protect so many different people and so many different rights. And so what do you think Heartstopper can teach us about using our vote or our power to protect other people?
It shows us more than just our community. Like I was just saying, the intersectionality piece, it's showing us real world issues that on a normal day-to-day basis we don't interact with much. We don't see that much other than some mediums that dive into those kinds of topics. It's everyone picks around it or doesn't talk about it at all. And with Heartstopper, it hits it right on the head, but in such a way that it opens up to conversations where now we can talk as a community and be like, hey, like this is going on in the world. Like even on Twitter, I see more about equal rights and LGBT issues than I ever did before joining Heartstopper Twitter, because it floods my feed. There's so much activism on all not even just queer rights, it's everything. Just floods my feed. When one person talks about it, everyone will talk about it in response to it, and then it becomes a conversation at that point.
Yeah, like when the cast went to that Pride party, it was absolutely all over my timeline. I woke up and I was like, wow, I watched all the videos and I was like, this is absolutely amazing. And I think one thing when it comes to this stuff is people kind of vote for themselves and they kind of don't take into account everyone else's feelings. So like when I vote, I mean, I just started being able to vote. I just turned 19 this year. But for everything, I make sure that I take into account that if it's not only applicable to me, I take everyone else into account, because this isn't something that just affects one person. It's affecting an entire community and it's affecting people all around the world. And it's not something that you can kind of just brush off, even if you don't really care about it. You got to like take into account like other people's feelings if you know them or if you don't.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah, I also just started being able to vote this year, and I did early voting with my dad and my sister, and like it's like really scary to vote.
Yeah,
it's like it's overwhelming, and like sometimes like I was looking at some of the terms they used and like the stuff they had up in Georgia, and I was like, I don't know what this word means. Like I want to vote the way I feel that is best for everybody, but I can't do that if I'm not informed. And I feel like that's where the internet and where Twitter and where all these other social media platforms come in. Is it opens up for discussion, but it also is a place, because especially in like Twitter threads, like you can break it down so it's like easy for people to digest the information. Whereas if it's like a scholarly article, like that's going to be harder for people to digest, and
they're not going to read it all. Yeah.
Where
They're gonna look up like a summary of it online or something.
where if you have something that's like on Twitter and it's also filled with like fun facts, it's easy to digest, but you're still getting the information you need to make an informed decision.
Yeah, that's a great point about, the barriers that the people in power literally put in place so that people are confused when they're voting or make it difficult to vote. It's just a really unfortunate reality. So yeah, thankfully
especially young voters. Yeah.
Yes, especially young voters. And so yeah, thankfully there are some resources out there and people, and us included, working to try and make voting a little bit easier and less overwhelming. Oh, Micah, thank you for showing us your cat.
He's getting into trouble. That's
okay, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It was so lovely talking to you. Before you all go, I want to ask if there's anything your groups are working on that you want to plug or let people know about, and feel free to mention where people can follow you on the internet.
I guess I'll go first. So I actually don't have any current plans, but I do plan on doing more on Heartstopper Twitter Pride, if not sooner, next Pride Month.
Awesome.
We were gonna do something for National Coming Out Day, but I'm a solo rider at this point because the other organizers have been busy with other personal things, so they left. So I've been trying to figure out other things I could do. I just retweet as much about LGBT rights and activism and intersectionality as I can on our Twitter account. So if you're interested, I put it in the thing. But yeah, I do plan on doing other stuff. Yes.
Awesome. People will stay tuned for that.
All right. You can find us on Twitter at HSTWT Party. And on Instagram, Heartstopper Pride Party. We also have a website on those that gets updated every now and then. Also, Micah, I think maybe we could talk about doing like a combined. I think that would be awesome, bringing together a bunch of people from each side. I think that'd be super cool. So if you're interested in that, just reach out, and I think that'd be cool.
Yay, collaboration.
See, I didn't even know about them before you sent me the email saying that we were all going to be talking on this together. So this is really cool, getting to meet other sides of the same community. Like, we probably have a lot of mutuals on our personal accounts, but have never once spoken to each other.
Well, I'm very glad to facilitate this introduction and hope you all do some amazing things together. Ricky, anything you want to mention?
Just that, yeah, I follow us at both of our groups, and I think, hopefully we'll see you guys soon for holiday season, and that I hope you all have an amazing night or day or whatever time it is where you are.
Yes. Okay. Thank you all for joining me. Everyone who's watching, go follow these groups, have fun at their parties. And thanks to all three of you for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a really good time. I was nervous, but we did
Say
it.
it.
We did it, guys.
You all did great. Awesome. Have a good night.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
too.
All right, everyone. We are almost done with our Heartstopper phone calling, phone banking party. So thank you so much to everyone who joined us in this hour and a half. Maybe we will put the link for the phone bank one more time in the chat because, as we mentioned when we were talking with Gabriel earlier, you do not have to be making phone calls during the time that this live stream is actually live. You can sign up to make phone calls anytime before November 8th. And as long as you are doing it, I believe Gabriel said between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. Nevada time. So yeah, the link just went in the chat again. So make those phone calls. I signed up to do them earlier and it literally took about 20 seconds to get registered. And then you just immediately start calling and you'll probably be leaving lots of voicemails. So if phone banking is something that makes you nervous, but you don't mind leaving voicemails, just know that you will mostly be doing that. And as Gabriel said, voicemails are still impactful in getting people out to vote. So feel free to keep making those phone calls until November 8th. If you know people who are in Nevada or really anywhere in the United States, make sure to encourage them to vote, get out and vote yourself, and make a plan to vote on, or before Election Day. A few other things I want to mention before we wrap up. We have 2 events coming up after the midterm election, which we are calling Magic of Science, in which we are having some really, really cool science creators and communicators come on to a live stream just like this one to talk about something in their scientific field that feels like magic to them. So I'm super excited for those. And if you are interested in science, I hope you join us for those. We'll put the links to sign up for those in the chat as well. And finally, if you want to support the work that we're doing here, you can donate to support our tiny nonprofit organization at fandomforward.org/donate. And you can also buy a One Vote Protect shirt at fandomforward.org/shop. It's a really, really fun shirt that illustrates all the things that your one vote protects. Well, some of the things that your one vote protects, because your one vote protects too many things to put on a single t-shirt. And as Katie said earlier, if you purchase that now, it should be hopefully it will arrive to you by Election Day, so you can wear it to the polls. I think that's it from me. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Keep making those phone calls, go out and vote. And I hope everyone has a lovely evening or day whenever you are watching this video. Thank you all. Good night.